So Patrick,
So,
thanks so much for coming back on again today. You are one of the absolute industry leaders in, not only just blogging, but like online presence for businesses. And I don't think enough people understand why that's important. So that's really what I want. I want you to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit first. And let's talk about why it's important that your business is online and like what that means to have a presence and a brand.
very well. Well, it's a pleasure, first of all, to be with you.
Yeah.
I love your energy, and I always love to chat with you. So, um, as a fellow investor, because I'm primarily an investor, the marketing services that we provide
Mhm.
is a second business for us. Online presence is king. It's
Yeah.
king for many reasons. Number one, most people say, well, it's your digital business card. So
Right.
we have that business card,
Mhm.
but it's not just that. It's a way for you to be able to showcase your expertise,
Mhm.
for people to see that what you specialize in, and for people to check you out. Because the reality is, as investors, we're competing with each other for the leads that are out there. And it's that investor that can showcase his business, his USP, his unique services,
Mhm.
maybe his background or his specialty that separates you from the crowd. And ultimately, any seller, any potential, homeowner that wants to sell and is going to select an investor, they're going to do
Mhm.
their homework. And part of that
Yeah.
homework is they're going to look you up. Years ago, and David, you and I remember this. I'm sure many people don't even know what we're going to talk about. But when the yellow pages were out there, that's what they would do. You
Yeah.
open up the yellow pages and you see who
How
had the
big of an
biggest
ad did they
ad.
have? Right. Right.
Right. And that was the way you say, oh, okay, so this must be a legit company. Well,
Mhm.
nowadays, people go to the internet and Google you and find out, is this a real company? So
Right.
testimonials on a website, your services,
Mhm.
that's critical.
Right.
And I found from my personal experience as an investor that many deals that I've won over other investors is
Mhm.
precisely because people have said, I've seen you all over the internet. I've seen, your
Yeah.
services. So what I would like to talk about today is specifically is blogging, because there's a
Oh, okay.
lot of power in blogging.
Right.
And we build websites for tons of clients.
Oh,
Uh, Websites are wonderful. They're beautiful. And we do some amazing websites. And when we finish the websites, some clients, investors think the job is done. And that's where I tell
oh.
them, no, it's just begun. It's just begun.
You're getting
It
out of the
doesn't
starting gate
matter.
now.
Right, right. It doesn't matter how beautiful your website is. If you're
Mhm.
not driving traffic to that website, it's
Right.
as that saying, if a tree falls in the woods, and nobody hears it, then that whole saying. That's where the critical problem is with 99% of the websites,
Really?
that
Okay.
it doesn't get enough traffic. And one of the easiest ways, one of the least expensive ways to drive traffic through a website is
Mhm.
through blogging. Blogging
Okay.
is king. Now, there are other strategies, and there's two ways to work in any business, particularly marketing. You could either do it as my good friend from Carrot says, you're in that hamster wheel, and you do the cold calling, you do the knocking on doors, you do the mail outs, you
Right.
do the ads. But once you shut off that spigot, once you close and you stop running ads, once you start, just a moment, once you start um, once you stop doing
All
door
that
knocking,
outbound stuff or that aggressive marketing. Yeah.
then what happens? Your leads don't come in.
Right.
There are things that are evergreen that you can do that
Love
can
that.
produce leads today,
Mhm.
tomorrow, or a year from today.
Really?
And that's blogging. Blogging is powerful
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm going to, one blogs not for the sake of blogging. You're blogging to
Mhm.
answer questions that your prospective clients have in mind. You
Okay.
blog in order to address pain points, headaches, issues that motivated sellers home have.
So just so everybody understands, a blog is just like an article because I'm thinking like mommy blogs where they're doing recipes and and how to keep your kid to not put their finger in the outlet, right? Like
Well,
let's talk about
right.
blogs for real estate investors and how would you know what are the things that your prospective clients want to know about?
Excellent question. Uh, as I said, you don't blog for the sake of blogging. What is the power of blogging? Blogging does several things. First
Mhm.
and foremost, people are going to Google information such as, I lose my job 2 months ago. I'm desperate, and they're going to Google, maybe how to, how sell my home. Maybe they have a parent that or a family member that's ill and they need cash. So they may go to, how to get cash. But ultimately, depending on the pain point, depending on the needs of the client, they're going to start
Mhm.
inquiring, how to sell a house that has flood damage, how to sell a house that has termite damage, how to sell a property
Mhm.
that maybe has, other issues, other concerns. And if you can answer that question for the client, if you could um, position yourself to give them answers, give them a guidance, give them advice
Mhm.
based on their needs, on their particular pain point, then you become a resource for them.
Gotcha.
People block Google every day. They enter a query where they ask, "How do I
Mhm.
sell my house, which is through a divorce? How do I
Mhm.
sell?" And if you can be a resource for them, then number one, they know you exist because ultimately the blog is going to be on your website. Secondly, you position yourself as an expert
Right.
because you're answering a question that they have. Third, when you drive people to a blog, literally just by a query, they
Mhm.
visit your site. Ultimately, they're going to click a button here or there and say, "Well, let me find a little more about David. Oh, I
Yeah.
see David is an ex-Marine, and he's a father of four, and he's
Mhm.
been in this business 20 years." And they start familiarizing themselves with you. So it helps you create that position yourself as a professional
I think it
with your
builds trust,
prospective
right?
buyers.
Because
And
we're
and
in the know,
yes,
like, trust economy. Yeah.
exactly. And you beat me to the punch.
Mhm.
And ultimately, it builds that trust that's so necessary. Now, I
Right.
will say that one should blog for two people or two
Okay.
groups: your prospective home seller and
Mhm.
for Google. And you can blog for Google without make it obvious. And what I say blog for Google, make sure you use keywords. Make sure that the formatting of the blog is professional. Include call outs, include images,
Right.
include even videos. Those are all signals, all of those
Mhm.
help so that Google can take your blog and get it up that SERPs page, that search engine results page. Uh, so
Mhm.
whenever I write a blog, I'm writing it with in mind. It's for a prospective client,
Yeah.
or prospective home seller, and for Google. And then
Um,
at the end of the day, and this is that icing on the cake or the cherry on the cake, it drives traffic to your website. Because
right.
as you start blogging on a consistent basis, you start getting traffic and people start getting to know you. What I do say to folks, since we have a marketing company, people come to me and say, "Hey, Patrick, I've heard a lot about you. Can you help me?
Right.
I need leads, but I need leads like fast this quarter." I
Today.
say, "Wait a second. In
Yeah.
that case, go over to my friend, who sells leads."
Right.
Uh, Social media, blogging, all those efforts will give you results, but it's
Uh-huh.
not a quick fix. It's
Right.
social media is something where you've got to, particularly blogging, you have to stick to it for 6, 7, 8 months,
Mm.
and it will give you results. And ultimately, it will give you results because if you write an evergreen article, something that's timely, it'll sit on the internet for years, and you'll
Yeah.
have people who may read the blog a year or two from today
Mhm.
and reach out to you. So
And should there you said we should be doing text blogs and video blogs?
what I normally do is combine them. So when I
Okay.
create a blog, I make sure I have a really captivating title, a
Mhm.
great hero image, and then
Mm.
inside of the blog, I include images throughout the blog, GIFs sometimes, maybe a short video.
Okay.
Why do I do that? Well, one, because people well, number one, you've probably never read a women's magazine. I haven't read too many, but even a men's magazine, where you can go through a GQ magazine and it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like you're reading. It's
Right.
it's it's so it's presented in such a easy fashion to digest. Same thing with blogging. If you put a wall of text and it looks like a medical journal,
Yeah,
people are going to get bored. But if you
that makes
if you
sense.
throw in a GIF, if you throw in an image, it makes it easy, the formatting. But there's another reason. Images and videos are indexed by Google.
Okay.
So when somebody goes and looks at an image, goes to hit Pinterest, for instance, goes to see a video, in that image, what we do is we redirect it to the website. So now if a blog has 4 images and
Hmm.
if it has 4 images and it has a video, let's say, now that's being indexed as well.
Hmm. That's interesting.
And so that's from an SEO perspective. From
Mhm.
an SEO perspective, that's very powerful.
I love that. So
Mhm.
once you've got these blogs, like, how do you get like past your website, right? How do you build that online branding? Are you sharing it? Do you run paid ads to it? Like, what types of things can you do to push traffic and really kind of
Excellent.
amplify it?
Excellent. So if you're blogging and you're blogging consistently, and I would ask every investor who's listening to this, enter a query in your area.
Mhm.
Let's pick Miami, Florida,
Okay.
and enter a query and say, how do I sell my fire damaged home for fast?
Mhm.
You're going to see that as you start entering queries, that the same companies pop up. And I'm
Mhm.
not talking about the paid ad section.
Right,
I'm
right, right.
talking about the organic. And
Underneath.
what you're going to see a pattern that, wait a second, my 2 or 3 top competitors, I'm seeing them all the time, and that drives tons of traffic. However, what can you do in addition to that? Obviously, post on social media, post on your website. If you're a guest on a podcast, bring up, your website, and then you can move on to, once you get you're out of the gate, you're not walking, you're running, then you,
Mhm.
you go ahead to what's paid ads. Paid ads will send traffic to your website. I
Right.
leave
But
that
you gotta have
absolutely
that website
for the
built
end.
first though. Yeah.
Right. You want it to be robust. You want to be enough
Mhm.
content on there. My feeling is, and I've always, when I've committed to blogging, I'll do 2 a week, but
Oh,
at
okay.
minimum, if you could do 1 a week, that's
Mhm.
very powerful. That's really,
Yeah.
really, really powerful. And it's been proven, time and time and time again. If you stick to blogging,
Consistency.
it's going to work. It's going to pay
Right.
off. It's just, it happens because it happens. And that's, and those investors that stick to it, they are converts to that, the power of blogging, and
Mhm.
they love it. And,
Awesome.
and, anecdotally speaking, I've done that, when the internet first came around, I started blogging, and I
Really?
noticed that my traffic was amazing, would come.
Yeah. I
And so
remember
I'm
blogs
a
were
believer. Yeah.
everybody talked about blogs like 10 years ago, and then they kind
Mhm.
of went away. But now I'm hearing more and more people talking about it for
Mhm.
that SEO, search engine optimization, to draw people into the
Correct.
site long term.
Correct.
So I do want to talk about social media presence, but just before while I want to touch on blogs one more time here. So, those, I feel like these blogs should be written organically, not
Mhm.
run through ChatGPT, because I just feel like there's the search engines at some point are going to be able to detect what's what's
Right.
ChatGPT or Claude or Persephone or whatever they all are, and
Mhm.
those are going to get sort of suppressed. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I agree with you, and I'll tell you, and this is a kind of a selfless plug, but we have our REI contentpacks.com
Uh-huh.
is our website.
Okay.
Uh, we have what we call an REI content pack. So it's 52 blogs
Hmm.
that I wrote. I wrote every single word of it there. I did this over like a 6 months period on the weekends. And I
Good
literally
job.
created all the videos as well,
Mhm.
and my team did some of the formatting. But it's
Mhm.
blogs that I wrote with my 35 years of experience as an investor,
Mhm.
and I had to fight back the urge to go to ChatGPT because I
Yeah.
wanted it to be genuine, come from the heart and from my
Right.
experience. So we have a content back. It's 52 blogs, as I mentioned, for you to be able to blog once a week for an entire
Mhm.
year. They're
Mhm.
all pre-written. You can take those blogs and you can, put yourself as the author, tweak them, move them however you want. All the blogs include GIFs and images and call
Yeah.
outs and hyperlinks and what have you. That's on our site, and
Nice.
we charge what maybe a good copywriter might charge for 2 or 3 blogs. We charge for all of them, so it's less than
Yeah.
$300.
Copywriters are expensive.
They
Yeah.
are. For less than $300, you've got blogs for an entire year.
Oh,
I
wow.
do want to mention one thing along with this is that we also, in these blogs, we've created what's known as a pillar and post strategy. So
Okay.
every single blog, except for maybe a handful, are interlinked. So
Hmm.
there might be a blog on what's the benefits of selling to a realtor versus, let's say, an investor.
Mhm.
Or there's a blog, for example, about understanding closing costs, or a blog about what are the, I forget the exact title, but what are the 9 killers that will do in a deal.
Mhm.
But they're all interconnected. So a blog that discusses about how to sell my property in fast has a hyperlink to another blog that has a related content. That helps tremendously because people visit your blog, they're reading the blog, and they say, oh, there's an article about how to calculate my closing costs, and they click there. And as they're reading there, there's an article that they mentioned in the second blog about the comparison of why I should sell to an investor versus a realtor, and they'll
Mhm.
click there. Now what's happened?
Yeah.
Now the person's on your site
Spending
consuming
time.
more of your face information, right?
Right.
You're positioning yourself as an expert, but there's that exit. Remember, we have that second audience that we're always have to keep in mind. Google says, wait a second, David has X amount of visitors. They're not just, entering and exiting out within 30 seconds. They're staying 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the site. This content must be relevant.
Mhm.
And those are the factors that Google uses to decide, should I put that higher on that first page, so that when somebody Googles how to sell my fire damaged property, bam, David's website appears. So that pillar and post strategy is kind of like critical to what we do, and that's the strategy we use. And
I love it.
lastly, and I could go on for hours, but lastly, we create related articles. So every single blog has a series of related articles that we put at the end.
Mhm.
And there is an argument as to, you want to keep them on your site, you don't want them to go to another site, that whole concept. But
Mhm.
I find that if you can educate your audience, they're going to be grateful. So if in the article it talks about, let's say, how to sell an inherited home, and there's an article by some high domain authorities at the bottom,
Right.
which says strategies of selling, or techniques, or how to sell a home in probate, or how
Mhm.
to sell an inherited property that a lawyer may have written, or a large company. And then we include those links at the bottom,
Yeah.
because it's additional resources. And in addition, for it to be an additional resources, when you have high authority links inside of a blog, it's another one of those check marks that you're checking off for Google, because they're saying, oh, wait a second, this article that David wrote, it's
Mhm.
hyperlinked to very high domain authorities that are sharing quality content. This site, this blog, is valuable. So it's all these factors. At some other time, we could maybe sit and I can give you the
Yeah.
entire list of
Love that.
boxes that need to be checked off in order to be able to utilize, or optimize SEO.
Love it. So how does social media fit into all of this? Are we using social media? Are we talking about the same types of things on social media, because we know those are searchable things? And, is social media are you using it to always push back to the blog?
The answer is yes, yes, and yes.
Okay. I love
So
it.
yeah,
I love it
so
when I
yeah,
get everything right.
right. That's exactly it. You want to leverage social media by sharing
Mhm.
maybe a little blurb of your blog with a
Mhm.
hyperlink to your blog.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. You tease the people, tweak them with the first paragraph, and then they're going to want to learn more. So that is kind of goes hand in hand. Um, the other thing that's somewhat related are lead magnets.
Mhm.
People don't tend to want to consume, or we're busy.
Yeah.
We're busy. So I learned about David, and maybe I don't have the time to read about what David does, but, and so I skip him.
Hmm.
But if David is offering me this free guide on X, Y, or Z, and all I need to do is download, and there's something in there that catches my, my interest, or, piques my interest, I say, well, I'll download it and I'll read it when I get some time. Well,
Hmm.
inside of that lead magnet, we put, it's an opportunity for you to, again, position yourself, sell your idea, have a call to action, which leads you back to the website or leads you for somebody to make an appointment with you. Lead magnets are very powerful, and we kind of use like a 1, 2, 3 punch. So it's or 1, 2, 3, 4 punch. A great website, blogging, using the power of social media to drive traffic to your
Hmm.
blogs, and using lead magnets to drive traffic to your blogs.
Yeah.
If you do that, and then the fifth leg of that table, which I advise you do after you've gotten all this down, kind of working, clockwork, is paid ads. But be careful with paid ads, because that you could lose
You
a
can
lot of money very
earn a lot of
quickly.
money really fast.
Right, right.
Yeah, no, 100%. The goodness, I forgot what the question I had. I had a good question. It just eluded me there. Um,
While that question gets back to you, I'll
mm,
give you anecdotally one of our
okay,
clients, Don Thornton.
okay.
Don Thornton is in the real estate business. He's been a short sale expert most of his
Mm,
life. And he got into what is going to sound very boring, which is he sells irrevocable spendthrift trusts.
yeah.
Actually, the term is even longer. It's like 6 or 7 words. And last week, so it was a timely conversation. He called me and said, Patrick, I'm inundated. I need somebody in your team to help me.
Hmm.
He's getting now between 600 and 800,000 views on his videos. And what Don, like many of our clients, they said, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to do it long term.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, somebody on my team suggested we do TikTok.
Hmm.
And this is related even for investors. And he laughed out loud. He's a 60 something old, gentleman. He
Yeah.
laughed out loud. He said, TikTok, that's for girls and lipstick.
Doing dances, right?
Exactly. He gets about 90% of his leads now from TikTok.
It's
So
incredible.
it's amazing. And he's selling these for $25,000 to $35,000 a pop.
Mm,
And so if there's anything, that I have to drive home,
mm,
if social media is powerful, social
mhm.
media will give you results. Social media will give you leads. Social media will make you money, make you sales, but you must commit to it. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you need to break the bank. You could
Right.
be the key thing from my perspective, be conservative with your budget, but
Mhm.
be consistent. That's the ultimate thing.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and I want to wrap it up with this: is no longer can you ignore this stuff. Like you just can't,
Absolutely.
because yellow
Mhm.
pages aren't there. Newspaper ads don't work. Like nobody is doing that. The
Right.
penny saver ads are done. You cannot ignore social media or having a website, because like we talked about earlier, this is the know, like, trust economy. They got to know you. They got to like you, that you can do, the things that you're saying. And that's what leads to that trust. So Patrick, thank you so much.
Exactly.
I do think
My
it's so
pleasure.
important that all of you guys, really lean into social media and the websites. We did. It's absolutely helped our business. And, thanks to a lot of your guidance, we've taken a lot of those things and implemented them. But I will tell you this, like, it can be a daunting thing. When I was first starting, there's so much to do.
Ooh, yes.
So, like, I think people need help, because you can't be good at everything. So, Patrick, you're clearly an expert in this, and I know that you work with some of the top brands in the country, especially in the real
Mhm.
estate space. Where would be the best place for them to go and connect with you and maybe get some help?
Sure. If you can Google Patrick Yepes, my
Mhm,
last name is Yep,
mhm,
like Patrick,
mhm.
EZ.
Yeah.
PatrickYepes.me. You'll
Uh-huh.
learn about me there. There's a link
Oh,
there to
nice.
schedule an appointment. You're welcome to schedule. And then
Right.
you'll see we do many, many, many things, but you can see a little bit about what we do with investors and for investors,
Yeah.
aside from what we do, because we do work with many coaches, SaaS company owners,
Mhm.
influencers, podcast hosts that are
Yeah.
clients of ours. But
Mhm.
you'll learn a little bit from it, and do reach out to me. You don't need to spend a penny if you want to
Yeah.
pick my brain. David, you might know this. I'm an open book, and I don't mind
Yeah.
sharing my time and giving guidance if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I do it from the heart.
Right. And then you have the content packs where you can kind of, it's pre-done, the websites and all of that for people too.
Correct. But yes,
Nice.
yes. In fact, we've got, and we're rolling this out within the next month. We have another website where we have pre-built, templated websites. You
Nice.
can pick up for $249 one time. You have a full website, and we have various categories. So for probate investors, for cash buyers, for land buyers, for note investors, for your standard
Oh, I
investors,
love that.
we have about 20 different types of sites depending on your niche and your category. So there's plenty to pick up from, and I know the price is unbeatable.
It is, absolutely. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on. I
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. I'd like to have you come back and we can dig more into some of these and really go deep and try to
Sure.
help some people. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day. And guys, we're rounding out 2025. Make sure that you get these things in place so that the next year, 2026, will be the best year of your business.